Welcome back to the road to City Hall. The emails released earlier today by Donald Trump Jr. show that the president's son set up a meeting with a Russian lawyer who he was told had incriminating information about Hillary Clinton from the Russian government. There remain many unanswered questions here, but what do today's developments tell us? Joining me now are analysts. We call them the NY1 wise guys. Former Senator Alphonse D'Amato is here, along with former city controllers and mayoral candidates Bill Thompson and John Liu. Thank you all for being here. Hello. And this takes me back to my youth, those Watergate summers where day after day after day something huge would happen. In this case, at a minimum, we could say it's an answer to those who kept saying, hey, there's no evidence, hey, there's no evidence. Now we've got an email, and it's saying this is information from the Russian government intended to help the Trump campaign. Does that tell us all we need to know, or is there more?
I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg. Evidence comes out every single day. But what does the Trump administration do? They outright lie to people, and they say there's nothing there. I mean, clearly the public all over the country or the world sees that there has been this communication. It was political communication, strategic, meant to undermine a national campaign in the United States. And it's just, you know, the more stuff comes out. I mean, just when you think that you can't see anything more, more stuff comes out. I mean, it's just so hard to get your arms around.
So the real question is there a there? Okay? Because if you look at it, and someone says to you, hey, by the way, we have some information that will show you what your opponent has been doing, that he or she has made and done things that are unsavory, not good, that will be embarrassing, and you can hurt them politically. Would you meet with them? Of course you would. Now, the question is, was there something real that goes beyond just what we've seen now? And I agree with you, John. Get it out. Let's get it out. Let's look at it. Let's see it. And let's answer the questions. If indeed there was a conspiracy that went on, more than just this meeting, because if you take what Trump said, and I'm not suggesting that you just stop there at what he says. I'm saying you got to bring the woman in. You got to examine this. You got to bring in all of the parties who were there. You have to look at this thing and determine, was there some kind of thing that went beyond
Do you think the administration should do it, or should they wait for this to come out in testimony or with the special counsel?
Well, I think the special counsel has to undertake it, and I think that the investigatory committees have to do it. But get it, pursue all of it, and that's the only way you're going to put this behind them, if indeed there was nothing more substantial than this. Right. And if there was, let the chips fall where they may.
The only thing, and I'm going to disagree in this part with the senator, and is this everything? No, they're both right. This is the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be a lot more. But what you happen to have, and any candidate, and I'm going to disagree with you if someone said, hi, there's information that can damage your opponent from the Russian government, would you sit down with us? You would have said no, because I would have said no, and anybody else would say no. I'm not going to do that. Right now, what you're looking at is you've seen phrases like treason and so many others, and criminal activity tied to this. You can't. Also, you take that, you tie it into hacking and attacks on, you know, the DNC and the Clinton, you know, computers and a number of other things. All of this together is a larger pattern.
So all of you have been in hard-fought campaigns where I imagine damaging information was not unknown to the process, shall we say, right? Were there sources that you would have said, you know, as bad as I want to win and as much as I want to know what's going on here, I just can't take it. The source is just too tainted.
Or maybe not credible.
Yeah.
The idea that they actually think...
Or I'm not going to go there because that's low, and I'm not going to do that. There's some things that none of us would have done.
Yeah, but at that point, it wasn't exactly what the information was. It was just the fact that they were so willing to listen to what the Russian government had. Russian government had in terms of
with the chair
information about a political opponent.
The son of the candidate and the son-in-law of the candidate.
That's a little jump, because we're saying now they were told this is the Russian government. That is, and by the way, that may come out to be the case. And if that's the case, They were wrong.
Yeah,
I believe the emails
remember
indicated
from the
that.
beginning, Senator.
No,
Trump
wait.
and all his associates saying there's no there there, there's no there
Okay,
there. Well,
all right.
we're
There's
finding out more and more there.
There's more there. There's more there.
I will admit, there's more there than any of us knew heretofore. Certainly, I wasn't aware. I don't think you were. You were. So, now, the question is, were they told that this is coming from the Russian government? If that's the case, that's very troubling. That is troubling because you're getting information from an unsavory source, and that is now. I will tell you,
Unsavory is
the Manafort
Very
thing.
diplomatic.
The Manafort thing has always bothered me. Now they got rid of him though pretty early in the campaign. He really was there for the convention purposes and then out. But that's something I look at. And to me, that's
let me-
by the way, that's
also got rid of
that's,
Comey.
that's troubling.
And that's very troubling.
No, I want to tell you this. Comey, if I were him, I would have fired Comey right off the beginning
one.
when he came in.
If you don't like him,
but
get
the
rid of him.
way
But there's an investigation going
That's
on,
right.
and that's why he got fired.
But let me ask you all of you this, because you've all been in campaigns again where, while in fact you were being, sort of pressured on various kind of ethical issues, right? And you managed to compartmentalize it, right? To get up every day and campaign and govern.
Look, if you got a sleazeball coming to you, in this case it would be the Russians, you say, no way. An unsavory character. I don't want to talk to him or her because they're bad. And I don't trust them. I wouldn't, at least, and I think most of us would agree to that. I think if they knew that this was coming from the Russian government, I think they committed a no-no. I'm not saying a crime, but a no-no. It was stupid and ridiculous, and they deserved a pummeling.
Let me switch topics. Speaking of stupid and ridiculous, that is how some have characterized
segue,
the
great
mayor's
segue.
visit to Hamburg at the time and under the circumstances that he went. His political opponents have pounced on it. Some of the police union leadership.
His allies have pounced on it.
Have pounced on some of his allies.
Stupid,
The press was upset because he
ridiculous.
didn't tell us before he left. And
Stupid and ridiculous.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
was
according to
it the
news
timing, or
reports-
was there never a good time to go to Hamburg to talk
First
to
of
the
all,
Green
I
Party?
don't think there was never a good time to go to this where there are protests, they're screaming, they're yelling whenever they have a G7
burning the
thing.
city.
They're burning the city, etc. And you're going to tell them, oh, one of the things I love, and de Blasio may not like me for this, but
Really?
but oh, yeah, what's so great about it is that our people, the diversity on the subways. Yeah, the subways are going into the toilet. All right, that's my Queens accent. I never grew up in Queens.
I don't think they say that in
give
Queens.
me. They used to. When we grew up,
John, you're from Queens. John, I haven't
well,
heard
we
that.
grew up, Johnny, before
we
your
never said
time.
turlet. We don't
do that in Brooklyn,
John, I'm
okay? We don't-
ancient. In ancient times, it was turlet. But give me a break. That's where you go, Mr. Mayor. That's who you're speaking to. Speak to the people here. Speak to the heartache that our New Yorkers are enduring with this horrific slaying of this poor woman. Be there. Hold the people. Be with the people. You're better than that. You're better than this cheap, cheesy politics of trying to be the so-called I am there with you, marching with you. You want to be the next Bernie Sanders? You got a long ways to go.
I don't even think Bernie Sanders would have
wasn't
done
there.
that.
Okay, exactly. Look, it's the mayor of the city of New York couldn't leave then. Number one, should he have been there for the G20 to be with the group of protesters? The answer is no. If you want to protest Trump, protest him here in the United States. Protest in New York, where we're about to be pummeled by the policies that they're pushing forward. But you can't go to Germany after a police officer has been assassinated. You need to be here to lead moral leadership, to be the mayor of the city of New York during a period of time where people are hurt.
Well, the mayor of the city of New York was there to speak on behalf of Americans, because the message was, we want the world to know that not all Americans, not New Yorkers, Americans agree with the Trump administration. And look, this is another unforced error that I guess at this point, with no real opposition in the election, in the primary or otherwise,
You can do.
he figures he could get away with. So
Yeah.
why not
It is
take a
what it
free trip
is.
to Germany?
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Thanks a lot for coming by. Great to see everybody. We're going to take a short break now. Straight ahead, I will be joined here in the studio by the president of Columbia University, Lee Bollinger. We're going to talk about the university's economic impact on our city. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Road to City Hall. We turn our attention now uptown to Columbia University. The school recently opened the doors of some of the first buildings on their new Manhattanville campus in West Harlem. University officials say that the expansion is part of efforts to support our city's economy through the creation of new jobs, construction, and research. Here now to talk more about all of this is Columbia University's president, Lee Bollinger. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Thank you, Errol, very much.
Let me start with some of the basic numbers, because I don't know how much, I didn't realize what kind of impact you had even before going up into Manhattanville. So
Yeah.
it's about 4,000 faculty, 16,000 odd actually non-faculty staff members, and a payroll of about 1.2 billion. So you're already a big player in this town.
Right. So Columbia is one of the top 10 private employers in the city of New York, the state of New York. I mean, this is a very, very big institution in that sense. Of course, it's an incredible institution intellectually, training new students and graduate students and faculty doing research. So it's a very sizable institution.
Something I did not realize is that you're engaged in helping a lot of startups. The university is.
Yeah.
And I think we all sort of knew that there was always something going on with like defense contracting and the engineering department and that sort of thing. But you've been really doing a lot of tech startups, including off campus in downtown Manhattan.
I mean, I think one of the biggest stories about modern universities, and this is especially true of Columbia, is an increasing commitment to try to bring the knowledge of the academic world into the outside world. And that's whether it's startups and commercial ventures or whether it's taking new discoveries in laboratories at the medical school and making them into drugs and treatments, or whether it's problems generally. One of the things I just announced in the past 3 months is the new Columbia World Projects, which is to try to take that academic knowledge, not just at Columbia, but broadly, and bring it together with outside partners and to try to have solutions within discrete time periods, like 5 years, on major problems. So this is something that I think the modern university has to adjust to, how to bring the knowledge of the institution into the world of people.
When I see that over $700 million of funded research
Right.
Just in 1 year alone, and over
Right.
3,000 inventions over the last decade, who owns the patents? Who owns that intellectual property?
Since the early 1980s, the federal government, which has long been supporting basic science, especially in the life sciences through the NIH and the NSF, in the early 1980s, a deal was struck with American universities that said what you invent and what you bring to the market in the way of drugs and products and so on, you can keep the royalties of that. Columbia has been one of the leaders in doing that. And we benefited very substantially, and that benefit has been translated into, for example, the new campus, which is something that we think adds to the neighborhood, to Upper Manhattan, the city, and generally. So it's a big trade-off.
Well, we were doing the story up there across the street in the Manhattanville public housing development, and we got a chance to look, and your folks were very helpful. And this is a big deal, right? So this is over $6 billion that you're investing to sort of make this, this new campus come to life.
Yes. So in the history of Columbia, over 250 years, in the late 19th century, early 20th century, there was the expansion at Morningside Heights. This is the biggest expansion of the university since then. So over 120 years or so, we've not had this kind of opportunity to build a whole new campus. So it's a very big thing. As you say, it's 6, 7, 8 million square feet of new space out over a half century, an investment of well over $6 billion. In 5 years from now, there'll already be a third completed, and there'll be 5,000 or 6,000 people there. I started this when I began in 2002, and this is now the opening of the new campus.
And for those who are not familiar with it, we're talking about basically 125th Street up to about, like, what about
133rd, Broadway over to the west side.
Yeah. That is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And now you've got some numbers. You're going to be releasing them tonight. Thank you for releasing them with us. $578 million paid to minority, women, and local contractors. We're used to hearing about minority and women-owned businesses. You include local contractors.
Right.
How are you defining local?
Well, these are people in the upper Manhattan area, people in Harlem, people in Washington Heights. I mean, if you have a business and you want to grow that business, Columbia is there to try to help you, not only in terms of engaging you to do product, but to help you develop your business. This is something that's been very important. We were going to build a new campus in an area of the city where there have been fraught relations between the university and the neighborhoods for many decades. We had to design a new campus that would be open to the community and helpful to the community, that would benefit everybody. This was a responsibility we've taken very seriously.
We're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the takeover and all of the unrest in '68,
Right.
and that was about a Columbia University expansion in Harlem.
In part, that was a very, very significant dispute about a gymnasium and whether or not that could be built, and it was stopped as a result of the conflict with the surrounding neighborhood. So we had a lot of trust to rebuild, and I think we've done that.
And as I noticed, and I guess people should know that right at the foot of the subway there at 125th Street on the 1 train, you have an office that's just for job seekers, people who want to find out what's available, what kind of contracting opportunities.
So we used to have an office that would help people find out if they could get a job at Columbia, and it was inside of a building that was hard to find. We decided to move that office right down to 125th and Broadway, as you said. This will employ thousands of people, and already we have 1,500 jobs a year in the construction industry devoted to this project. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, we're showing footage right now of what's going to be the business school. You're going to move the entire Columbia Business School is going to be there in West Harlem. Did you get any pushback from your whoever it is you answer to? I don't even know who that might be. Your trustees or whoever it might be.
Well, I mean, no. The answer is, of course, I had to convince a lot of people that this was an important thing to undertake and that we could do it. I mean, I think there was a lot of doubt that this could actually happen, and a mere 15 years later, it's happening.
We'll go, as it gets built out, we'll go through and we'll go through it in exquisite detail. But I remember when it was first announced, and the big selling points that kind of got my attention was that there's going to be a public space, green space, at ground level that's about the size of Bryant Park,
right?
And modeled on Bryant Park, and you can just kind of walk in and sit down and have a cup of coffee or whatever you want to do.
So if you think about Morningside Heights campus, its buildings face the interior courtyard. They do not face the neighborhoods. There are gates. In order to come in, you have to go through those gates. There's nothing really to do inside except enjoy the great sight of Morningside Heights campus. Here you have retail at ground level. You have an openness of the buildings. You have streets that continue. You have green spaces and parks that will be open to everybody. There'll be programs. We have a wellness program in the new Mind Brain Behavior Institute. We have an education for young children to learn about the brain and neuroscience. We have the art school that set up a presence there, that has the Wallach Gallery.
You see, not only did I not know that you were moving the art school up there, I didn't even know you had an art school.
Right. So this is in part to make visible that we have the best school of the arts in the United States, and one of the best in the world, if not the best. And it's an extraordinary collection of visual artists and writers and theater and film, and the Manhattanville presence will make that apparent to people.
Okay, now in a lot of cases when you see mega development, multi-billion-dollar projects going up, around the city, the first thing New Yorkers will think of is, hey, here comes gentrification. Here comes people being displaced and pushed out.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that neighborhood a little bit and knowing how our rent regulations work, Manhattanville public housing is not going anywhere.
That's right.
And to the north is what I think used to be the densest, probably still is, the densest census tract in the whole United States. 333 is this gigantic complex of apartments, all
Right.
also rent stabilized, and so they're not
Right.
going anywhere. So
Right.
you really have to try and figure out how you're going to work with these,
Exactly.
with these folks, right?
Exactly right, Errol. And I mean, there's no question that gentrification is happening in New York City and Manhattan. If you want to try to address that, you want to have good jobs for people at every level of the economy. If you want that, your best investment is in a university. I mean, we are here. We're not moving our headquarters out to Westchester.
Right,
we
right.
are
You've been here
staying.
since, what, 1754 or something like that?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Probably
Right.
not leaving anytime soon.
And this kind of growth for the university is a growth for the surrounding communities as well. All that said, we have a very significant challenge. We realize that. We've tried to address this at every step along the way, to try to be open and welcoming and helpful and partnership with the surrounding communities, which, as you say, are also not going anyplace.
Okay, we're going to continue this discussion, but before another time. But before I let you go, I'll ask you to sort of put on your hat as a lawyer and legal scholar.
Yeah.
I see that there's a trend among some law schools of sort of changing the program so that you can get your JD in 2 years. You hang around during the summer instead of going off to a law firm and so
Yeah.
forth. Is Columbia going to follow in that tradition, and is that okay for the profession as far as you're concerned?
Not yet. I mean, this has been a debate I was a law school dean, I was a law school professor, I still am. That's been a debate for many, many years. I think the third year is a very important year. I think the question is, what should you be doing in that third year? But I think a 2-year legal program in a major law school is not something we should do. We're not planning to do that at this point.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
sharing some of this information. Again, we're gonna watch building by building and block by block, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Errol, very much.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now. I'll be back in a minute with a preview of tomorrow night's show. Stay with us.